It's Andrew Beach. I'm an executive career coach. I help professionals like you communicate their value to find great opportunities faster. That's why I consider myself a teacher of self-education. Hey, let me know if you can hear me in the chat. It looks like we're having some issues today with the Restream program. And so if you can hear me, let me know in the chat that you can hear me. It's Andrew Beach. I'm an executive career coach. I help professionals like you communicate. I guess it's working. The screen share wasn't working. Let's try this again, though. I'm just going to try something really quick because Restream, wonderful service, by the way. How to come on live. Yeah, so send me actually, I'm going to put, let's do this. I'll put the link to come on live in the chat here, and we'll get there in just a second. I have some thoughts to share with you if you're interested. And then I'll put this over into LinkedIn. I heard it on my phone here, so unfortunately. Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. Let me get over to my LinkedIn here because I tried to do it from my phone and that didn't work out so well. So I will put the link to the Restream in the chat in LinkedIn because Restream doesn't work both ways. So I tried to share a screen and this time it did not work. So I don't know why it's not working. So let me try this again and see if it works. Share. Okay, so hopefully that came up and you see me as a little kind of guy down in the corner. If you see me in the corner and the thing in the background, or is it all black? So I've got it on my mobile device, so I'll watch it from this side too. But I just want to make sure that this service is working because they added a bunch of cool new features, which is great. I highly recommend if you're interested, check out Restream. I ended up getting a lifetime deal on it, and so I have more features, but I think they do have a free version, if I remember right, that only allows you to stream to certain platforms. So let's see. Good. So it looks like it's working, at least on my mobile device. Looks like it's sharing screens now, so that's good. Excellent. Hi, Barbara. Good to see you. Jennifer, nice to have you. Good. So if you have any questions at all, just remember this is Career Happy Hour. Let me get rid of the screen share here and get back to the live. Okay. So it looks like they've upgraded. What they did is they allowed you to share a screen and then have yourself as a thumbnail at the bottom. That's kind of nice. Always improving your service. So we can take some cues from Restream. They have excellent customer service. Customer experience is a big deal for me. Actually, any kind of experience with a company is an indicator of a lot of things about that company in terms of the culture, how they feel about certain things. And sometimes we rely so much on other people's advice or Glassdoor or some third-party validation when really we can experience things on our own through this process. So, I mean, I don't really have any sort of, how would I say it, prepared thing for today. But if you have any questions at all, I'm happy to answer. Go ahead and let me know what those are in the chat, and I'll see those. But use the hashtag Career Happy Hour. I put the link in the chat also for access to Restream. If you want to come on live and get some one-on-one interaction with me, we can do that. Okay. So put your questions in the chat. The other things I would certainly recommend is that if you think these are helpful, I'm here every Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific time. You're welcome to come here and offer contribution, ask questions. The chat is a great place to meet new people, share your expertise or your needs or your call outs or whatever you're interested in the chat. I think it's a great place to meet new people and have conversation. I think there's some connections have been made in the chat here on our live sessions each Friday. So whatever that is, share it in the chat. I'd be happy to do that. Okay, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Andrew Beach. I'm an executive career coach. I feel that I'm a teacher of self-education. I help others really understand themselves better so that they can present themselves better to other people in a way that helps them get hired fast. Because if it's what we know that the number one way to find work today is networking. And often we know that. I mean, it's kind of like somebody said it the other day, there's certain marketing that's just like, duh, it's duh marketing. But here's the thing. Duh to competence is a process. It's a learning experience. And what we need to realize is that even though we know we need to do something, we may not know how to do it well when we first start, just like anything else. So if you have any questions or things that you want to share here, by all means, go ahead and share. If there's a little share button, regardless of the platform you're on, share it with your networks. Let them know we're hanging out here. We're having a good time. It is Friday. It is happy hour. I heard somebody call it cocktail hour last time. So, I mean, if you want a cocktail, by all means, go for it. I think you could see from actually, I'll share this again. It's kind of a funny thing, but if you look at the background image, you think that's a beer, but it's actually root beer. It's Dad's root beer. So, in fact, we just had Father's Day this last weekend, and it's one of those things where Dad's root beer tastes really good over cold ice, or even I don't know, what do they call it? Root beer float. That would be really good. Yeah. So good. Put your questions in the chat. Happy to answer any questions that you have. So I wanted to share some ideas though today, because I think a lot of the things that showed up for me this week in terms of consistent themes were a lot related to what I would refer to as approach avoidance, right? Meaning we're avoiding approaching something we know we need to do, like networking with people we maybe know or even don't know. We just are avoiding that approach. And approach avoidance is really a procrastination tool. There are creative avoidance behaviors that go along with that, like, let's go check out our social media. Let's see what's happening on Facebook. Let's go clean the yard. You know, there's avoidance behaviors, and those are valid, right? They're tension relieving, and they sometimes give us joy. So we shouldn't ignore those things, but let's recognize them for what they are, is that we're avoiding doing what we need to do. And so part of that avoidance process, I think, related to job search. So if we were to take that and relate it to job search, what I'm thinking about is something I suppose I'd refer to as the Amazon effect. Okay. That the Amazon has changed everything, not only in terms of hiring, but in terms of how customers and businesses react. And so there's this, what I would call Amazon effect. It's impacted everything, and hiring is no exception. Okay. Hiring is no exception. Why? Because we've been conditioned by Amazon to think differently. Why? Because if there's something I need, I can get it, and often with 1 hour delivery. I can add it to my cart. I can check out. It's a friction-free experience. And so what does that mean? That means we have an expectation of everything that it should be friction-free, hour delivery, Amazon, right? So if we want, we got Amazon Prime, there's so many services involved. In fact, if you looked at the value of Amazon Prime and the cost that you're paying for the benefit you get, it's a loss. It's got to be a loss for Amazon, but their number one value is customer obsession. And so if we just looked at their number one value, customer obsession, that probably applies across the board to everything they do. Internal customers, external customers, candidates. Now, not every candidate is going to have an awesome experience with Amazon. I get that. Not every customer is going to have an awesome experience with Amazon, right? That's not what this conversation's about. This conversation's about your mindset as relates to a job search and what I referred to earlier as approach avoidance. And so if we're talking about approach avoidance, job search, Amazon effect, how is that impacting your capacity to actually get opportunity? Now, if we can all agree, the KPI, the key performance indicator for any job seeker, is interviews, right? Interviews, meaning an interview is a conversation with a hiring team about a position pending, right? Now, position pending doesn't mean that it's advertised. Position pending means they have a need and they might have an opening for someone like you to fill that need if they were to post it or get the requisition approved through some internal process. Okay. So let's look at it from that perspective. The KPI, key performance indicator for job search, is interviewing. Can we agree on that? Let me know in the chat. Can you agree with me that the key performance indicator is interviews? And I think we can all agree that's probably the case. Now, that said, what can we learn from Amazon based on that? The Amazon effect is that we need to recognize when we individually are trying to have our job search appear like an Amazon process. So let's take an example. Let's assume for a moment that you found a job, posted online, it looks like a perfect fit for you. Okay. You enter your resume, your application, your cover letter, you customize everything and everything looks great. You send that off into the ether, into the interwebs like an Amazon Prime order, and you expect immediate response, 1 hour delivery, interview the next day, right? 1 to 2 day, let's say 2 day delivery. So you expect an interview in 2 days. Now you may not be thinking that, but you're certainly feeling that because of the Amazon effect. I know a lot of our candidates do. They feel that they should be getting a better experience than they are. And I've had plenty of conversations with people in HR circles that, yes, they should. They should have a better experience than what they're getting. And there's so many automated systems, these ATS applicant tracking software systems. There's so many systems available. There's no excuse anymore that candidates shouldn't have one, but it still exists. Just because it should be doesn't mean that it isn't still, right? Isn't still that way for a lot of companies, okay? So one thing that you need to think about is to recognize when you're expecting something that is Amazon effect related. And so that's what I would be looking at. And so really the process of hiring should not be overlaid with that Amazon perception. So just pause, gather your thoughts, and recognize that you're trying to get an interview from a process, right? And the process may not be generating interviews, and then you figure, hey, I'm supposed to have 2 day delivery on the interview. Shouldn't they be calling me and having something scheduled? Possibly. But when that doesn't happen, you think customer service, customer experience, the bar has been set so high that with the Amazon effect, that you really think that company is a bad company. Valid or not. Now you're thinking, okay, it's either a bad company. Well, maybe it's not a bad company because I've been going to multiple companies, and now I can see that each of these companies is not responding in 2 days. What's up with that? And now I start thinking something's wrong with me. Something's wrong with me, not the companies I'm applying to, which couldn't be further from the truth. The odds are, in today's marketplace, you're probably seeing there was a case just last week that we talked about. 3 open positions, 2,000 applicants. Okay, do the math. 2,000 divided by 3. Now, I'm not good with math, but I'm guessing that's somewhere around 700 applicants per position. So you're 1 out of 700. Somebody do the math for me. What percent probability of success is that? And I'm guessing it's a really small number. And that means application resume just ain't good enough anymore. Okay. Not that it ever was. Okay. Because it could be application resume online is so easy. Thank God for that, right? It's easy. I can do lots of those. Could do a couple hundred today, right? I could probably just zip them out, do the easy applies, wait for that 2 hour delivery. Now, the difference is, unless you've had some sort of reviews online like Amazon to judge whether or not that opportunity is right for you, you take what Amazon sends you, okay? Let me say that again. You take what the company gives you, what Amazon gives you. Now, if you don't have any reviews, you don't have any way to judge. Let's say you're expecting an alarm clock that actually has a radio on it, and it doesn't have a radio. It just has a buzzer. And you're like, oh my gosh, what is this? I can't listen to music when I wake up in the morning. It's kind of like that. So here's the thing. When I'm reaching out to a company, I've got nothing to go on, and I'm expecting something that's unrealistic. That's the Amazon effect, okay? So what does that mean? Well, that means we need to recognize what the true value of LinkedIn is. The true value of LinkedIn is not the fact that you can find jobs. It's not the fact that you have access to postings or even companies or the influencers, right? It's that you have access to 670 million accounts that could potentially have a hiring manager attached to it, okay? Now, the true value of LinkedIn is not your profile page. A lot of people think it is, right? It's not undifferent than your resume that way. It's just a way for people to find you. And that is valid, right? As much as resume is valid, so is LinkedIn profile. But LinkedIn profile is not the end. It's just the beginning. It's kind of like a calling card. Well, actually, calling cards, that's old hat. Let's not even say that. It's like an introduction, a letter of introduction. So think of the LinkedIn profile. So here we're talking mindset and strategy to help you be successful. And that is, let's think of the LinkedIn profile like a letter of introduction to the person that sees it so that they can say yes, not only to connection request, but also follow up based on that, okay? Now, once we get to that point, the true value of LinkedIn is having the conversation, right? The offline piece of it, having access to those people, seeing where they came from, what their schooling was, what their career path looks like, some of the things they're talking around. Maybe those are in alignment with our values. Now I have an organic conversation. Now I have seen statistics on LinkedIn, by the way, where people are telling LinkedIn that they would help people in their network. So let me know in the chat, would you help, if someone asked, would you help somebody in in your network? Okay. Just generally speaking. Good. Definitely agree. Excellent. Yeah. So if you had somebody in your network that needed help, would you help them? And I don't think there was virtually very few people that said no, they would not help their network. Okay. So it's not that people aren't willing to help you. It's how you ask them to help. Let me say it again. It's not that people aren't willing to help you, because they are. I'm that way. I'm willing to help. Okay. It's not the fact that they're willing to help. It's how you ask them to help. How you ask them to help really makes a difference. Okay. So what should that be based on? Okay. What should that be based on? It should be based on value, contribution, mutual exchange, right? So we need to think collectively, not individually. Collectively, not individually. So that outreach to somebody in your network should not be based on your need for employment, even though I get it. That's important to you. Yes, that's the outcome you're seeking, but that's the paradox, isn't it? The paradox is that you, as an applicant, don't want to appear to be so. That's the paradox, because now I have an easy out. You're in my network, right? You reach out to me and you ask about employment opportunities and to help you find a job. Great. Where am I going to send you? Where would I send you? Okay, so let me ask you this. You've done some networking, you're out in the marketplace, and people know you're looking for work. Where do they always send you? What do they always ask for? Okay, what do they always ask for? Where do they send you? What do they always ask for? Okay, let me know in the chat. Where do they send you? What do they always ask for? And the answer is, right, and I see it in the chat, that's great. They always send you to HR Talent Acquisition, the website, check the jobs online, let me know, happy to endorse you. Or they ask for your resume because they want to end the conversation, okay? Not because they don't want to help you, but because the way you asked them to help you was by a job seeking process. And so in their mind, in their perception, the job seeking process starts with an application, a resume, connecting to talent acquisition. Now, I've done you a favor. I've done you a service. I feel good about myself, but you're not any closer to an interview, okay? You're not any closer to an interview, okay? Yes, back scratching. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. So one of the things we need to recognize is that this is about mutual exchange. Now, you could plant seeds and contribute to other people and add value and do all these things, and you don't get anything in return at that time. Amazon effect. You're expecting an outcome in 2 days or less. It could be that seed that you plant isn't harvested or doesn't even germinate for 5 years. I've seen that happen, truthfully. I've seen people reached out to 5 years later, and you know what? Now there's an opportunity. This is the value of not only establishing a relationship, but incubating that relationship, watering it, fertilizing, making sure that you're staying in touch with people that you think are valuable, not only to you, but you to them. Mutual exchange, right? So I recognize that not everybody in your network is going to have that status. That's the process. The process is You have to meet everybody that you can to know which ones are valuable in the first place. People always say, oh, well, I'd love to network, but I want it to be quality, not quantity. I don't see how you can have one without the other. How do you know you're even doing it right? Okay, you could be, how is that? Kindergarten in terms of networking. And you go into it and say, oh, well, I did it all perfectly. And this person should respond this kind of way. And then it doesn't happen. And what do? You blame the networking and you stop doing it. Okay, so don't, let's get around that objection. There's no lack of objections to networking. Okay. Now, what does that mean in terms of LinkedIn? Well, we should look at LinkedIn as a way for us to connect with people in our area of interest. And it's not any different than doing a Google search. If you had an interest in a certain domain, a certain profession, you can most definitely do a search on that and find people in your geography, in your network right now, even if you have just a few contacts that have similarities to you. I know that for a fact. If you've been on LinkedIn for any time and you have at least a handful of connections, there's at least one person in there that you could contact today and have a conversation of strategic significance to both of you. Now, that doesn't have anything to do with a job. That doesn't have anything to do with your resume. Open hands, nothing up my sleeve, right? That sort of thing. Good. So let me see if there's any questions I can help answer here. They kind of flow in a few seconds after you guys put them in. Good. So I put a link, Rajiv, I put a link in the chat if you wanted to come on live. I don't see anybody in here right now. Let me know if you see that or not. I put it on the LinkedIn, so it should be there. I see it on my side. So if you want to come on, do that. Weird. I don't know why it started off the way it did. I think I shared the screen before I started the live, so that might have been the problem. But I'll report that back to Restream because they had some issues there, I think. Good. Okay. What are some tools to work backward from career dream work idea to where I am presently? I don't think, well, so having a goal or an ambition, a noble ambition, or who is it? Oh, I can't. Brian Tracy. Brian Tracy calls that a major definite purpose. Major definite purpose is like a lifelong pursuit. So assume, well, maybe that's, hey, I'd love to win a Nobel Peace Prize. Well, you're not going to, under the Amazon effect, you're not going to get that. Okay. But, so if that's something you're interested in doing, I would certainly work forward from where you are presently, one step closer to where you want to be. So if you have aspiration to be somewhere, I'm not working backwards from that place. I'm working forwards from where I am. Okay. Just one step closer. Now that means you may not be any closer, right? It could be a sidestep. There's no straight line to go where you want to get. Okay. So that's something that I would certainly be looking at, is that if you're working backwards from where you are presently, or where you are now, I think that I perceive that to be backwards. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't have a noble ambition, a branding statement, or something that allows you to communicate what it is you're interested in. And that's where a lot of people fall down, is they think that, hey, I should have this place out here and it should be a straight line and it should be without any friction, right? That friction free. Okay. Friction free. It just doesn't work that way. Okay. Hasina, good to see you. Hope you're well in Los Angeles. Joel, so the last week, ideally we should be with, we should be working with our current network to see who can introduce us to hiring managers. If you can. Right now, it's not always going to happen that way. You're not going to come to your friends and say, hey, what hiring manager can you introduce me to? It doesn't always work that way. Okay. Your ask should be one step closer to your objective based on the person you're meeting with. Now, the person you're meeting with might be a barista at Starbucks. And so the next step closer would be, well, I'm really looking for opportunities in marketing and sales within the food and beverage industry. Who do you suggest I talk to? So now I'm relating what my ask is to the person I'm actually meeting. So if you haven't yet, Joel, I would look at the anatomy of a networking conversation. In fact, thank you all. Last week, there was a number of you went to the jobseekersradio.com, that website for my podcast. We're going to be recording some new episodes this weekend. With the pandemic and everything, we've kind of put things on hold. So we're just getting back into a rhythm now that we're, kind of feeling like the 2-week gestation period is past us, and we might be a little bit healthier and in safe contact as a co-hosted podcast. So, but I would go to jobseekersradio.com. I would download the Anatomy of a Networking Conversation ebook. It's an ebook along with the companion audio from a series we did on the podcast. It's great. And so the ask is the piece that I think you're looking at there, Joel, is that if you want to get to a place, the frontal assault isn't always the best way. Sometimes it's just looking at that person and saying, okay, where do I think they could lead me next, logically speaking, based on my objective, if that makes sense. Good. A lot of affirmation. Good. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks for the kind words. Good. I'm not seeing any other. Hi, Andrew. Okay, good. Hi, Andrew. I have a question. I'm interested in one great organization and applied to a couple of positions. Every time they sent me the same rejection email so quickly. So you're pointing out something that we've discussed here on FAQ Friday Career Happy Hour many times. And that is there are several automated systems that make you feel robotic, right? That you're not a human. And it's unfortunate, Leisha. So the idea here is application resume just ain't good enough anymore. You have to do more. Meaning, even if you do the application resume, you need to reach out to somebody who you perceive is the hiring manager, or at least one step closer, an internal champion, somebody on the hiring team, anybody who will even talk to you at that company. Okay. Let's see. I wondered why. Is it appropriate to reach out to HR and ask why? Well, they're just going to tell you, hey, so I'm going to give you the script that they're going to give you in advance so that you know exactly what they're going to say to see if I'm right. Okay. Every HR department is more concerned about risk and protecting the organization in terms of that piece than they are in helping you as a candidate, which is tragic. But that's generally how HR talent acquisition runs from a candidate perspective. Once you're inside, employee experience might be different, but I doubt it. I mean, the idea of HR, human resources, is it's less human and more risk, right? They should call it risk management instead of HR. But that's just me, and I'm sure our friend Terry Smith on here should have some insight on that too. So, Lisha, my advice to you is reach out to anybody and everybody that you can to see who knows somebody at that company you would love to work for. And regardless of where you are, I mean, you might be overseas. I've worked with people in China, India, all over, right? Europe. And, the beauty of the internet and the pandemic is that everybody's shelter from home. Everybody's work from home. Everybody's shelter in place. Very few people going to the office or out into the community. What does that mean? All of them are available. All of them are a captive audience. All of them are thirsting for connection. All of them typically, have margin because they're not commuting anymore. Most of them, right? And they may not have a commute. They may work from home already, but still, many people don't have a commute. Many people don't take a lunch, and many people are working kind of a loose schedule. Yes, there's still meetings and so forth, so you may have to book in some time with people. My feel is that people are actually more available. So, okay, good. Yeah. So Chelsea has a similar experience, right? Gone through the same process and response. It's a black abyss of emptiness. No, it's not. It's called the database. Okay. And the activity you're participating in is data entry. And it's unfortunate, but it's true that these systems replaced a manual system long ago that was by mail or email or fax. Okay. And so this is just a way to accumulate information, data on candidates in one place. Now, how that's used once it's in the database, I don't know. Okay. So that's where the confusion comes in, not only for you, but for the company. How does the company use said ATS based on best practice? Are they using it just as a tool to say, yes, we had a diverse candidate pool and to overcome any EEOC, equal employment opportunities? Okay. If they were to be sued. Okay. Yes, the podcast link, Hasina, thank you. Yes, That is from my website. It's jobseekersradio.com. And you can download the Anatomy of a Networking Conversation from there. Just drop in your email and I'll email it over to you. Okay. Yeah, I know, Terry, I'm getting a little salty over here. Apologize for that. But I mean, so just as in any profession, right? Career coach, no different, right? The top 1% are better than the bottom 99. Okay. So that's true of any profession. It's the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle, whatever you want to call it, is that there's a bunch of people that are mediocre at best, a handful at the bottom and a handful at the top. Okay. And not every candidate experience is going to be exceptional, even if they're good at it. Some companies obviously are better than others. Okay. Yeah. So let me do this. I'll go ahead and grab the link again, and I'll hop over to LinkedIn here and see if I can drop that in the chat again. And if anybody's interested in coming on live, let's do it. Terry, if you want to defend yourself, I guess you could do that. But I'll put it in here. So come on live. Here we go. Let's see. Terry's got a comment here. Let's see what he says. That is a key point. You know, how the system is being utilized. Yeah. So every company typically has an ATS system. They just haven't been trained on it. It's like any new piece of technology maybe that they put into an organization. You have to train the user. Well, what if there's just as much turnover in the talent acquisition function as there is any other function? Well, guess what? Now I have to train up a new person on best practices or help, the HR IT people establish a system of best practices so that we know what's going on there. So, let's see. Yes, you're absolutely right, Terry. Good. Well, I appreciate that. So here's the other part. The other thing that I was thinking today is that I was getting so many questions from people about how shouldn't I let people on LinkedIn know I'm open to opportunities? And I actually had to laugh. Open to opportunities. Show me one person, just one. I want to see, just show me one person on LinkedIn that's not open to opportunities. Okay. So I'm going to put a show me here. Show me just one. Just one. Put it in the chat if you would, please. Okay. I want you to show me just one person anywhere on LinkedIn that's not open to opportunities. Okay. And let's talk about that. So here's the thing is that I recognize that as a job seeking professional, I want people to know I'm in the marketplace. I get that. Right now, if you knew what LinkedIn Recruiter looked like and the capabilities and the talent solutions side of the house for LinkedIn, you wouldn't be thinking that. Here's the thing is that people who have LinkedIn Recruiter can curate a talent pool without having your resume. Okay. They don't need it. They don't need the resume much anymore. In fact, I can see the writing on the wall as LinkedIn is working super hard to integrate with different applicant tracking systems. They're not going to need your resume anymore. They just go to LinkedIn, okay, and they parse your profile right into their system. It's super easy, and they can access their ATS right from LinkedIn. They don't ever have to leave LinkedIn. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that great strategy on behalf of Microsoft, who owns the company? So, good. Excellent. Thanks, Joel. I appreciate that endorsement, right? Is that you go to jobseekersradio.com and you'll see it. There is a free resource there where you can download the Anatomy of a Networking Conversation and you get to see, hey, maybe where you're falling down, where are you going off course? Where do you need to make adjustments? Okay. Good stuff. Yeah. So we were talking about LinkedIn and this idea of letting people know you're open to opportunities. Okay. There is a spot right inside of, let me get over there. Maybe should we do a little tutorial here? Maybe. Let me get a LinkedIn window open here and maybe we'll do a little a little tutorial if you guys would be open to that. Okay. Let's see here. Jennifer's got a question. Can you talk more about how to go about reaching out to persons via email? What do we say? Hi, so-and-so introduced me. So that's the first way. The first way is by referral. Okay. Now, email is just one step in a communication. How should I say this? There's a kaleidoscope of communication, some more effective than others. Okay. So written word is actually the least effective in most cases in terms of having a dialogue and texture. Okay. So just remember that if you're using written word to communicate your message, it could be challenging. Okay. So the step up from there, written word, would be spoken word, right? So speaking has more texture. You have nonverbal communications, right? And then there's video, right? So video would add the verbal piece of it and the visual piece of it. So verbal and visual. Next best is in person, right? So there's kind of like this kaleidoscope, or how would you say it? This a chain, this value chain of communication, is that it improves as you exercise more of it. So that said, if I'm reaching out to somebody on LinkedIn, they don't respond, I'm sending them a LinkedIn message or an InMail, then an email, then I'm calling them on the phone. Okay, so that's a process. So if we're talking about reaching out to people to get them to respond, sometimes it's just saying, what's the next step? Hey, sent you a LinkedIn message. I see your email here on your profile. Send you an email instead, right? You send the email. They don't respond. Great. I see your phone number here on your profile, or I've got your phone number. I'll call your office or your cell phone number, right? That's the value. So the other value of LinkedIn actually is that people put their contact information on there. Isn't that amazing? If you look at every single profile at the top has contact info on it. Okay, mine included. So if you and I are connected, go to my profile, click contact info. Let me know what you see. Okay, let me know what you see. Okay, awesome. So the question is, what do we say? Now, here's the thing. If you're using the anatomy of a networking conversation and you met a person and you got introduced to somebody else, which is ideal, that's why we encourage you to start with the people you know, then go to the people you don't know, okay? So that means if I know somebody and they introduce me to somebody I don't know, one step closer to my objective, great, I'm going to go have a conversation with that person. But before I go over there, I'm going to come back to my friend and say, hey, you introduced me to this person. How do you know them? What is the strength of your relationship? What should I talk to them about? You see where I'm going? Can I get their contact info, maybe their cell number, please? Okay. So what I'm doing there is I'm setting myself up for success by asking the referred party exactly what I should talk about. Hey, Joey, Jennifer said I should talk to you about customer experience management and best practices for or candidate experience management and systems that you can use to improve candidate experience. I'd love to talk to you about that topic. Okay. It's a topic of mutual interest, right? So networking is an exchange, mutual exchange of information between you and another person. Hopefully you're contributing more, asking, curiosity, that sort of thing, than you're getting, right? So that's kind of the idea behind it, is that you ask the person what to say, okay? How do you move the process forward? I just applied for a job and reached out to a friend who knows people at this org. Okay, so here's the challenge with that process. It's reactive by nature, okay? So the process that you just stated was posting, application, reach out to friend, reactive, okay? Now what we need to do is swim upstream from the posting. What does that look like? That means if I'm going to apply for a job, maybe at that company, maybe I should just look at that company in general. If that's a target company of mine, I can reach out to that person that I know and say, hey, I'm really looking to make strategic connections at this company after you've had a networking conversation, right? So we're talking about the ask, and you'll see this in the networking anatomy of a networking conversation ebook, is that before we get to the ask, we have a conversation, and there's a series of steps that leads to that place, okay? And so if we're reaching out to our friends, how long will they be friends if we keep reaching out to them out of self-interest for our employment? Not that they're not willing to do that, right? But they might get fatigued for sure, right? If you keep reaching out to the same person or series of people over and over again about your need for employment and ask them to put in a good word for you, put their thumb on the scale, if you will, in your candidacy, then you might wear out that friendship. Okay, so be cautious of that. Don't fatigue your network that way, because it is fatiguing. It's so much easier, low stakes, if your job isn't on the line. It puts too much pressure on your friends. Okay, so if I come to my friend and they work inside the company, I'm not coming based on an open requisition all the time. I might come to them with, I'm really interested in learning more about blank, whatever it is your area of interest is within that company or in your domain, if that makes sense. And so I would come to them from a strategic conversation, have a conversation around that topic, and then see if you can get introduced to people inside the organization that have similar interests. Now, I know that's more general and I don't know your specific situation, but that's how I would handle it. Because the other part of that is, if somebody reaches out to me out of a position of self-interest, I'm probably not going to respond as quickly as if it was a little more organic or personal, meaning by phone, right? So if I knew somebody inside the company, I would maybe CC them on any correspondence for my application, and then I'd reach out to them by phone. I would not do it by email. It just doesn't work as well. Okay. Let's see. Joel is offering me something I hadn't seen before. Joel, he says he recently added a new feature, open to work badge, for recruiters to see. You have any comments on it? I don't know what that is, but I have seen people with a little thing around their photograph, their profile photo. There's like a little thing around their photograph. And so I don't know if that's what you're talking about. But again, we have to look at LinkedIn from a different view than job seeker. Okay. LinkedIn as a platform is a platform of opportunity. Okay. That means I want you to show me, Joel, if you could. I'm maybe going to put the onus on you. So show me just one person on all of LinkedIn that's not open to opportunities, right? If presented, right? If I presented you an opportunity, would you be interested? And the answer is probably yes. I bet you can't find in the next 5 minutes anybody on LinkedIn that's not, please don't contact me. I'm not interested. Stop reaching out to me, right? I'm not interested in an opportunity. So now, if I reached out to somebody out of a position of self-interest to get a job, then I'm not bringing them an opportunity. I'm bringing them a burden. Okay. So if I'm that person, then I'm developing a reputation, aren't I? I'm developing a reputation of demand. I'm a demanding person of self-interest, and I'm looking for a job. So I'm a job seeker. So how far are you going to get as a brand message? Desperate job seeker, position of demand. Just let me know in the chat. I just want to know one, okay? One person on all of LinkedIn, okay? On all of LinkedIn that's not open to opportunities, okay? Now recognize that LinkedIn, owned by Microsoft, is a marketing tool team, right? There's marketing people there, and there's paid services, right? Data. Let's just call them data services. That's what it is. I mean, the whole reason that Microsoft bought LinkedIn was for data, period, end of discussion, and access to 670 million members, which I think it was only 600 when they bought it. So they've added a lot of members since then. So that's the whole point here, right? Is that they're trying. So the other side of this is the same idea that comes. So it's based on dopamine. They're trying to create a dopamine for you to stay on the platform. And that means, hey, there's an alert. Hey, there's a new job. Here's your alert for your jobs. What are they trying to do? The same thing that Facebook and every other social channel is trying to do. They want you spending more time on their platform so that you're not spending it somewhere else, so they can validate their data. They're always going to ask you for new data. They're always going to ask you to put in new information. They're going to use machine learning, artificial intelligence to serve up ads and different posts, right? They're going to suggest people for you to network with or connect with, even though they say in their terms of service, only connect with people you know. Guess what they offer you? A whole list of people you don't know, okay? So let's be clear. They're trying to give you a shot of dopamine, get you addicted to staying on the platform. Let's just recognize it for what it is, okay? Now that means they're offering things like open to opportunities or this profile badge, or you know what? What's the other one? Oh, people think they should put hashtag ONO on their profile somewhere. Okay. Again, the profile page, truthfully, is only about 10% of the value of LinkedIn, 10% at best. The profile page, much like your resume, is about a 10% tool. Okay. What does that mean? That means that there's a lot of people here that you could meet and have conversations with and get a lot farther in terms of your capability of communicating, improving your capability in networking, improving your capability to interview. There's a lot that comes into networking that has fringe benefits you may not have discovered. Not to mention that you might get clarity around your brand, around what you bring to the marketplace, on areas of opportunity, gaps you can fill in an organization. There's a lot of value there, folks. So keep that. Yeah. So Terry, good call out. Easy apply. Okay. Easy apply is affirming the Amazon effect, right? So the Amazon effect says, hey, let's make this super easy. One-click ordering, right? The idea behind Easy Apply. And I had people that would do that. They'd hop on LinkedIn, they'd make, 50 Easy Applies and then go off and do their networking. So they got their applications in, if you will. So, yeah. Yes, I would agree with your assessment, Joel. I believe that, yes, that badge makes you look more desperate. But it's confusing and it's kind of irritating to people looking at your profile that you would have that there. It dilutes your message. It really does. Because now, this person is looking for a job. Great. I'll send them off to my HR people, my talent acquisition folks, which, God bless you, Terry. They're exceptional people for sure. And they're well-intentioned. Absolutely. They're just not as effective. It's a fact. The fact is, there's one talent acquisition team for every open requisition, okay? But guess what? For each requisition, there's only one hiring manager, okay? So do that. So every single talent acquisition person might be handling, 30, 40, 50 recs, but you only got one hiring manager typically for each position. How hard is that? I mean, you only need to identify maybe a handful of people before you get to the hiring manager, okay? But you may never hear back from HR, talent acquisition. But that's based, again, on their best practice and policy and procedure and equal employment opportunity and risk and compliance, okay? Those are all things I'm sure they do plenty of educating on, okay? Good. Thank you for coming today, everybody. If you have any questions, concerns, or observations, please don't hesitate to put those in the chat. And if anybody wants to come on, I'm more than happy to do some hands-on live coaching. You come on with me right now on the video, and we can do this thing. Now, if you got some value out of today's message, go ahead and share it with your network. If you're on LinkedIn, just click the little share button down below, share it with your network. If you're on YouTube or some other channel, just hit the share button and share it with your favorite social media channel. I think it's perfectly valid and it's much appreciated. I'm here to serve you. So I come every Friday with some ideas or some thoughts, but that's not what it's about. It's about you and giving you value for your specific situation. So consider this free, live, hands-on support. I'm here to help, if you know what I mean. So good. Awesome. So I think we were gonna, so maybe I should, maybe Joel, if you could put in the chat, where do you do that profile badge? Right? Because I haven't seen it on my profile anywhere. Let me go into my profile here. Because I know you can show recruiters you're open to opportunities. Maybe that's on the intro section. Yeah, I don't see anything on the profile. Maybe it's under settings. Joel, do you know where it is? Let me know. LinkedIn profile badge. What did they call it? Open to work. Okay. You're welcome. How to create a LinkedIn profile badge for your website. How to create a LinkedIn badge for your website. Huh. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't see anything listed here. Maybe it's part of the blog. Maybe they put it on the blog for LinkedIn. Because I'm trying to find it where you'd actually have that setting. Oh, thanks, Chelsea. I appreciate that. I'm here to support your success. I do this as a labor of love, and I'm happy to do it. Absolutely happy to do it. Let me see here. I'm not finding it anywhere. That's interesting. So if anybody knows where to find that, it's in profile settings. Time for me to remove mine. Yeah, I would. I mean, it's not supporting. It's supporting your brand as a job seeker. It's not supporting your brand itself. Okay. Arlene, thank you. Yeah, you can send me an article about it. I know there's articles out there because I've seen them, but I just don't know where to set it up. Is it under job? Maybe it's under the jobs tab. Save jobs, apply jobs, more. Resume builder. Yeah, I don't see anything here. Yeah, I'll dig it up. Maybe we'll share that next week. I'd be happy, if you want to send me, Arlene, I'd appreciate that. Yeah, go ahead and send me an article on that. Be happy to look at it. Because I know I've seen it somewhere. I'm in LinkedIn every day, and I actually teach people LinkedIn every day. And so I should know where this is, but because I haven't seen it be of value, I just didn't even think about it. So there you go. There you have it. All right, folks. Well, I do appreciate you coming today, and I look forward to seeing you next Career Happy Hour. Take care. Be well.